She was the face of a generation, the quiet girl with piercing blue eyes who captured millions of hearts. Alexis Bledel didn't just play Rory Gilmore, she was Rory, smart, soft-spoken, and unforgettable. At the height of her fame, she could have had it all. More roles, more red carpets, more headlines. Instead, she vanished. No scandal, no explanation, just silence. In an industry that never stops talking, her silence said more than any headline. What made one of television's most beloved stars walk away from Hollywood? And what does her disappearance tell us about the price of being perfect? Before she was Rory Gilmore, before the Emmys, the fan mail, and the endless reruns on teen television, Alexis Bledel was just a quiet girl growing up in Houston, Texas. Born to a Mexican mother and an Argentinian father. Alexis didn't even speak English until she was 8. Her first language was Spanish. Her first love wasn't acting, it was books. She never planned to become famous. She wasn't chasing stardom or spotlight. In fact, she was painfully shy. So shy, in fact, that her mother enrolled her in local theatre classes, not to groom her for Hollywood, but to help her come out of her shell. What no one expected was that the girl who barely spoke would find power in pretending. At 14, she was scouted at a mall by a modelling agent. Her look, icy blue eyes, delicate features, quiet strength, was unlike anything the fashion world had seen. She began modelling internationally in her teens, walking runways in Tokyo and Milan. But Alexis never felt at home in that world. She didn't crave the flashbulbs. She wasn't drawn to fame. She wanted something more. Real. So she enrolled in NYU's Tisch School of the Arts, hoping to study film and find her voice behind the camera. But fate had other plans. At just 18 years old, she auditioned for a little TV show about a mother and daughter, a script that no one thought would go far. She had no prior acting experience. She had never even taken a proper audition. But when she read for the role of Rory Gilmore, something clicked. The producers saw it instantly. This wasn't an actress playing a part. This was Rory. Intelligent, bookish, vulnerable, strong. Alexis booked the lead on Gilmore Girls just 1 year after graduating high school. And with that, a star was born, peace, almost by accident. What came next was something she never asked for, but handled with quiet grace. Fame, attention, praise. But underneath it all, Alexis remained the same private girl who had once used theatre as a way to hide in plain sight. And as her star began to rise, so did the tension between the girl who wanted to create quietly and the world that now expected her to shine endlessly. When Gilmore Girls premiered in 2000, it was meant to be a small, quirky show about a mother and daughter in a sleepy Connecticut town. No one expected it to become a phenomenon, but it did. And at the heart of it all was an 18-year-old actress with no formal training, stepping into her very first role, Alexis Bledel. Her portrayal of Rory Gilmore was instantly iconic. She was the kind of teen character rarely seen on TV at the time, bookish, articulate, introverted, complex. A girl who didn't chase boys but chased dreams. A girl who wasn't loud, but always listened. Audiences saw themselves in Rory. Parents wanted daughters like her. Teenagers wanted to be her. And Alexis. She embodied it all with quiet brilliance. Week after week, her face lit up living rooms across America. She became the poster girl for intelligence, kindness, and calm resilience. A living antithesis to the Hollywood stereotype of the wild child. By the 3rd season, Alexis wasn't just playing Rory. She was Rory in the eyes of the public. Fan letters poured in, magazine covers, interviews, red carpets. She became a reluctant fashion icon, a role model, a thinking girl's crush. And the industry took notice. In 2005, Alexis took her image from the small screen to the big screen, starring in The Sisterhood of the Travelling Pants. Once again, she played the introspective girl with a poetic soul, this time as Lena, the quiet artist among her louder, wilder friends. The film was a hit, and suddenly Alexis Bledel had cemented her place as the soft-spoken queen of teen cinema. She was everywhere, and yet, somehow, still managed to remain mysterious. No scandals, no partying, no viral quotes. While her co-stars graced tabloid headlines, Alexis kept her life private, almost invisible off-screen, and that only added to the myth. The industry praised her, fans adored her, but the pressure was building. Because when you're cast as the perfect girl long enough, you begin to wonder, what happens if I no longer want to be perfect? Will they still love me if I change? At the peak of her fame, Alexis stood at a quiet crossroads. She could keep climbing, sign blockbuster deals, chase leading lady status, dominate award season. But deep down, a different voice was growing louder, a voice that whispered, maybe this isn't what I want. Most actors leave the spotlight because they have to. A scandal, a dry spell, a string of box office flops. But Alexis Bledel did something rarer. We walked away at her peak because she wanted to. After The Sisterhood of the Travelling Pants, the offers poured in. Studios wanted her. Writers created roles for her. She was young, beloved, and critically respected. A triple threat in an industry always searching for the next it girl. But Alexis? She hesitated. Instead of chasing bigger blockbusters, she chose smaller, quieter roles. Indie films, limited releases, supporting characters, and just as quickly as she had risen, she began to slip from the mainstream narrative. No red carpet overexposure, no headline-grabbing romances, no scandalous paparazzi shots. She wasn't fading, she was pulling back deliberately. And when Gilmore Girls ended in 2007, instead of using it as a springboard to superstardom, she seemed to take it as a signal to slow down. In interviews, she remained polite, but distant. Always composed, always thoughtful, but never revealing too much. Reporters often left wondering, did we really get to know her, or just the character she played? She never embraced social media, never fed the gossip machine, never gave the press anything to twist into a narrative. And as Hollywood moved faster, louder, more chaotic, Alexis moved in the opposite direction. She took long breaks between roles. She worked in ensemble casts instead of leading vehicles. She avoided press junkets unless absolutely necessary. Some called it career mismanagement. Others whispered she had lost momentum. But the truth was far simpler. She was protecting her peace. Because Alexis had seen what fame could do, how it could distort, consume, and how easily a person could become a brand. I've never really been comfortable being recognized, she once said. That's just not the part of acting that interests me. While other stars battled burnout in public, Alexis quietly set boundaries. She didn't need to disappear completely. She just needed space to breathe, to live, to be unseen. And in a world where everyone is performing, her refusal to play the game was perhaps the most radical performance of all. After stepping back from the spotlight, Alexis Bledel didn't vanish. She simply went quiet. And in Hollywood, silence is louder than scandal. She stopped attending premieres unless absolutely necessary. She turned down roles that didn't feel right. And more than anything, She guarded her private life like a sacred secret. In 2012, she surprised fans again, this time with love. Alexis met actor Vincent Kartheiser on the set of Mad Men, where she played a small but memorable role. They kept their relationship out of the press, away from Instagram, and far from the public gaze. By 2014, they were married. By 2015, they had welcomed a son. No announcement, no baby photos, no publicity deal with a parenting magazine. In fact, fans didn't even know she had become a mother until a co-star casually mentioned it in an interview a year later. It wasn't a PR stunt, it wasn't a celebrity reveal, it was a reminder Alexis Bledel didn't want to use her life for attention. She just wanted to live it. And so she did. While many of her peers chased Netflix deals and social media followers, Alexis chose her projects with surgical precision. She appeared in The Handmaid's Tale as Emily, a role that earned her an Emmy and critical acclaim. But even in success, she stayed consistent. No interviews about her personal life, no promotional overexposure, no sudden return to celebrity culture. She would film, disappear, reappear, only when she had something meaningful to say. And when she finally left The Handmaid's Tale in 2022, she did so with a simple statement. After much thought, I felt I had to step away. With gratitude. No drama, no controversy, just clarity. In a world addicted to oversharing, Alexis Bledel became the rare reminder that privacy isn't weakness, it's power. She didn't fall. She didn't fail. She simply chose a different path, one where peace mattered more than press. And maybe that's why her story still lingers, because it's not about what she did in the spotlight, but what she dared to protect outside of it. Even after years away from the spotlight, Alexis Bledel never really left the hearts of her audience. She didn't need to stay visible because the version of her that millions fell in love with never faded. To an entire generation, she will always be Rory Gilmore, the girl who read too much, loved too quietly, and made intelligence feel like magic. Rory wasn't just a character, she was a cultural moment. She taught girls that being bookish wasn't boring, that being soft-spoken wasn't weak, that you could be ambitious and kind at the same time. Years later, reruns of Gilmore Girls still play on streaming platforms. Younger viewers discover it for the first time. Older fans return to it like comfort food. And in every frame, Alexis Bledel is there, still timeless. Even in the sisterhood of the travelling pants, her portrayal of Lena, shy, artistic, emotionally restrained, resonates with viewers who see themselves in characters who don't always take up the most space, but still carry the most depth. And then came The Handmaid's Tale, a role that proved she hadn't disappeared because she couldn't act. She had disappeared because she knew exactly when to return. Her performance as Emily shocked those who had only seen her as sweet. She was raw, powerful, unforgiving, and yet still quiet, still subtle. That was Alexis's gift all along. She never shouted, but you still heard her. And in a world where celebrity often equals volume, her silence became her signature. To this day, articles still circulate. Where is Alexis Bledel now? Why did she disappear? Will she ever come back? Because even in absence, her presence is felt. She left the room, but the warmth of her energy remained. In Hollywood, silence is often seen as failure. If you're not on a red carpet, not trending, not posting, people assume you've lost your way. But Alexis Bledel proved something radical. You don't have to be visible to be valuable. She didn't vanish because she was forgotten. She stepped back, because she was remembered too much for something she never meant to become, a perfect, polished version of herself. While others chased longevity by staying loud, Alexis chose to be intentional. She didn't reject fame. She simply refused to be defined by it. And in doing so, she offered a quiet rebellion in an industry addicted to exposure. In a world where celebrities measure relevance in likes and clicks, she measured hers in peace and privacy. That choice, once seen as career suicide, now feels visionary. Because Alexis showed young actors, especially women, that success doesn't have to mean constant visibility. You don't owe the world your life. You don't have to perform your healing. You don't have to monetize your motherhood. You don't have to let the industry define your timeline. She gave us permission to leave the party early, to turn off the lights, to not explain, and somehow that made her more powerful than ever. She became a symbol, not of rebellion, but of quiet freedom. The freedom to be soft, to be private, to say no. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away before the world decides what to do with you. Alexis Bledel may have stepped out of the spotlight, but in doing so, she became something far rarer than a star. She became her own person. She didn't leave because she failed. She left because she knew how to protect herself in a world that would have gladly taken everything. Alexis Bledel never chased the spotlight, and maybe that's why her light still lingers. So now we ask, what if success isn't about being seen, but about knowing when to disappear? Comment below. Have you ever felt like stepping away from the noise was the only way to hear your own voice? Don't forget to subscribe to Beyond the Spotlight for more untold stories of fame, silence, and the strength to choose privacy. Because sometimes the most powerful story is the one you never told.